can't remember much of a bigger night of football in recent years.
I know, absolutely right. Huge night. So many, quite a lot of games. Big nights for both Arsenal, both Forest, and I think we're both feeling probably a bit different this morning, right?
Yeah, different outcomes, but I guess both emotionally fraught. So yeah, Arsenal, Man City. You've been top of the table. How long have you been top for? How long have you been top of the table for?
We've basically been top since about the start of September, I think. We had 1 week or about 3 days where Man City beat us at the Emirates and we weren't top. Other than that, we've been top all season. And we're still top now, by the way.
Yeah, we're still top. We're still top. It's just their games in hand, which is basically what you guys are assuming, is going to turn into them taking over the lead. But you are still top.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, as an Arsenal fan, talk me through how you saw it unfold last night. Your emotions.
Yeah, so I'm glad we're starting with Arsenal. I think just to sort of get it out of the way, and then we can end on the last half can be a nice happier half.
Yeah, but also I just think like I just said a second ago. I just think that game Arsenal City last night, as far as just pure theatre and what it means and how much that game meant, I think it captured every football fan's imagination.
Yeah,
massive game.
Yeah,
but yeah, wow.
Yeah,
How did you see it unfold?
Yeah, I mean this morning. I think to be honest, I think probably when we were speaking at the weekend, I wasn't massively hopeful. I thought we probably would end up losing, but I think it was more the manner of the defeat yesterday that was probably the most disappointing. I mean, Man City were good. Man City were really good. They were they were really good. But I think we, particularly after they scored, you could almost just see Arsenal's players' heads drop. I think the Arsenal's last 3 games before this certainly haven't helped in terms of their confidence and stuff. I think if you go to the Etihad and you need to kind of win, you probably almost need to be quite high on confidence. And yeah, that was clearly not the case. I mean, as soon as City scored, I mean, it did before the game and for the first 8 minutes, but after City scored, it didn't really even feel like a title decider. It was just so straightforward for them. And yeah, that was the most disappointing thing, I think, how straightforward it was.
Yeah, it's just they're so clinical. They're so good that I guess you're probably watching it half in bits at you losing, but also half sort of thinking fair play. You're so good. And even when I watched the last part of that game because obviously I was watching Forest, but I was expecting a little bit of an onslaught from you guys at the end. And Man City, they're not just amazing going forward, but they were just so good at just stifling you. They just shut you up.
Yeah, they did. Yeah. They just kind of they were so good at winning the ball back. It literally looked like men. It did look like men against boys, really. They were just so much quicker, so much stronger. And yeah, that's almost like when Man City are ahead at home and you just can't get the ball off them, and it's almost like there's just one team playing.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was hugely disappointing. Yeah, I mean, I think it's I guess there is sometimes almost something worse, isn't there, about getting really close and then say sort of losing in the last minute. That can that feels more heartbreaking. So I guess there's not really that element to it. That we were kind of beaten really, but as soon as the second goal went in, I think before half times, we knew that we'd kind of lost the game by then. But yeah, it's still hard to sort of shake off that. We didn't really do ourselves justice, considering how good we've been all season, and how good we are really. It hasn't been a fluke because we have been the best team in the country really for 30 games. So it hasn't been a fluke, but it's just a shame that when the pressure's really counted, we haven't really been able to sort of cope with it. Obviously, alongside kind of Saliba not playing, but I don't think even if Saliba was playing, I don't think it should make that much difference, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because Rob Holding, I mean, he scored, but Rob Holding wasn't good. He didn't have a good game, but nor did anybody. So you can't really just proportion all the blame onto him.
Yeah. That's the thing when you're playing a team like Man City, you're not going to have the freedom of the pitch to allow players like Odegaard and Saka, you're not going to allow them to remove themselves from defensive responsibilities. You can't allow Man City any time. So it was never going to be a case of I don't think like you can point the finger at your creative players, because you're not going to beat Man City by being sort of open and fluid. You'll just get annihilated. So it's like I think you just described it really well. I think losing, if you had lost the game in the last minute, it would have been heartbreaking. But you kind of just got comprehensively beaten, which in a weird way is kind of easier to stomach. And it's difficult to point the finger at any particular player. You're playing Man City; they're just world class players in every position. And look, my perspective for you guys as a neutral is, if at the start of the season I was to have presented to you the table, the Premier League table as it currently is, you top, Man City second with a few games in hand, but you still top of the table with 5 games to play, I'm pretty sure that most Arsenal fans would have taken it. And just the fact that you're in the mix, that's got to mean something, because you haven't been in the mix for years. It's not over yet. And you just think maybe like if you had 1 or 2. And if you don't win this league, if over the summer you sign 1 or 2 world-class players, for example, as much as we love Rob Holding, and he's a lovely bloke, if you were able to bring in a player 1 or 2 notches above the likes of Rob Holding in place of Saliba, then that might have been the difference. There might be the difference next season. It's just I mean, from a neutral, you've got a lot to be positive about.
Yeah, no, I completely hear that. I think it's hard to, that's all completely true. Absolutely. Like, as you say, if you look at the table, you still could say there's a chance, but at the moment, I guess it's hard to sort of see that chance. And it feels like we've essentially blown it in about 10 days, pretty much since we started doing these podcasts, right?
I know.
But that's the disappointing thing. I think that it has almost been blown in such a short time. But yeah, absolutely. I mean, the cold light of day. It's been an amazing season in terms of just being in the mix and being top all season, completely unexpected. But yeah, hard to kind of get away. I think right now that I guess it does feel like an opportunity missed, I guess, because a lot of the top teams have not been as good as they've not been themselves, I guess, this season. And even City, right? Even City, probably only about 2-3 months ago, a lot of people were saying, "Oh, our City a worse team with Haaland and stuff." All of that talk has completely stopped now.
I know.
So yeah.
It must feel like the results against West Ham and Southampton, especially, they're the results that must make you feel more sick than losing to Man City at the Etihad. That's where that's the real frustration. You've got to be beating Southampton at the Emirates. And
even West Ham.
We mentioned it, didn't we, before the Southampton game? Like, we had our eyes on the City game as being huge. Of course, it's going to be huge, but it was almost like Southampton was the game that would be the most Arsenal-esque game to stumble on, which you did.
Yeah.
And on reflection, that's really cost you, because anyone can lose to Man City at the Etihad, you know.
Exactly. Yeah. That's the thing. We were in a position where, you know, we could afford to lose to City, couldn't we? You know, if we'd have won those 2 games. But yeah. But I think sort of the manner, I guess. Yeah, the manner of the victory, the manner of the defeat, yesterday, almost kind of, we should have beaten West Ham. Yeah, we should have beaten Southampton. But the manner of the defeat yesterday, I mean, we've almost been kind of kidding ourselves maybe in some way that we are as good as Man City at the moment. Do you know what I mean? Like, we're clearly not. We're still a long way away from them, as is everyone. And that was shown last night. So, yeah, the opportunity was there for us, but there's no getting away from it, right? Man City are the best team in the league and probably the best team in the world. So I guess it only makes sense that they're probably going almost certainly going to win the league now, even though there is still a small chance, as you say, Pete.
Yeah, anything can happen. I looked at your fixtures actually coming up, and your Man City are going to Fulham, I think, next. That's not easy. Craven Cottage is a tight little ground. It's not an easy away game. Who knows? You know, anything can happen. And I was just thinking to myself how young the Arsenal team is as well.
Yeah,
I think it's. Am I right in saying it's the youngest team in the league?
I think I'm not sure if it's 100% right, but I think I've heard that it's the second youngest.
Okay.
And basically the youngest apparently is Southampton. And look where they are.
Exactly. So this was bound to happen at some point, because it's not their football ability. Like I think we said the other week, it's psychological, right? So I don't think many of your players, bar Jesus and Zinchenko, that you got from City, there's not many of your players that have experienced sort of winning league after league and winning titles and winning cups. So if you can keep the core of your team together for the coming sort of 3 or 4 seasons, then I think it looks really bright. It looks so bright for Arsenal. And there's such it's always reassuring when a team develops this identity. I think Arsenal are developing this identity, and it's always a good sign when you can reel off your first 11, like your best 11, as like I could off the top of my head reel off the first 11 from the Invincible season. I could reel off the first 11 from when George Graham's side won the league. You know, like there's an identity to a winning team, and I think Arsenal have developed that. You know, with Xhaka and Partey, Saka, Martinelli, Jesus. You know, Saliba and Gabriel at the back. There's this real core and identity to Arsenal now, which I think you've been lacking over the last sort of 10 years. And I think that's a really positive thing. And, you know, look at how many players Man City have that are used to winning leagues and titles, and even Pep. He's been winning for years. Arteta's such a young manager that, bloody hell, you've done so well to stay top since September. I know that I'm talking to an Arsenal fan who's probably thinking, shut the fuck up, but because of last night. But I'm really pumped for Arsenal. I'm really happy to see where they are, and it's just like they're back in the mix. And if you keep the core of your team, I have no doubt you'll be in the top 2 again next season. And you just got to look at the positives, man.
That's making me feel a bit better. Thank you. That's a really good point as well about the starting 11. I think, isn't it? You're right. Like that, every great team, like you're able to kind of reel off like a core group of players, right? Like a spine to the team, I guess, that you know if they're fit, they're all playing, and they're like mainstays of the team. It's a really good point. Yeah, which Arsenal have had this season.
And you can do it with any great team of the past. You know, Mourinho's side of 2005, I could tell you their starting 11 off the top of my head. Man United in the 90s, I could tell you their best 11. It's just like, I feel like it goes hand in hand with a successful team. There's just this identity and this sort of like core that never shifts. And then, you know, there's obviously a couple of players that rotate, but there's always that core. And I think that's what Arsenal's found, and what Arteta's found this season is just a rhythm. that's really important.
Yeah,
But yeah,
definitely.
Okay, for time,
Yeah.
should we shift on to Forest? It's a bit of a
We shift
difference.
over to happier matters. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, that was talk about huge games. I mean, that was a unbelievably big game for you guys, wasn't it? Brighton at home, set 6 or 7 games to go. Yeah, and as you say, you've been talking about your home form, and I think we also had a conversation the other day, didn't we, saying that you hadn't scored more than 2 goals in a game.
No, I know. Well, we should have scored 4. We missed the penalty.
Yeah.
It was great. It was really great, and about bloody time. And what made it so big was it was really for the first time of the season. It was a must win. It's been so tight at the bottom for so long that when there's sort of 10, 11, 12 games left in the season, you're not quite labelling a game a must win. But when there's 6 games left and you're in the bottom 3. Not necessarily for statistics and for the table, like it wasn't must win. Like if we had lost last night, there would still be a mathematical chance of us staying up. More for just momentum and the fact we hadn't won in 12. Like if we hadn't have won last night at home, then you would more than anything else psychologically that we would have been really sort of struggling as fans psychologically to think that we'll be staying up. So yeah, to get 3 points was just massive, huge.
Yeah. I can see the smile on your face just thinking about it. Yeah, how much do you think the fact that you were saying about how important it was that you guys played well against Liverpool in the game before? Yeah, you'd almost given yourself some confidence even though you lost. The way that you played and the game that you gave them. How much do you think that did that give you belief, do you think, going into this one?
Yeah, I think so. It was a really, really positive performance. Even though we lost against Liverpool, it was positive. We created chances. And to do that at Anfield, like I said to you before, it felt like a win. We carried that energy into last night's performance, 100%. And again, we continued the theme of hardly having a kick of the ball. So I think we had 25% possession. We've done that all season. But the one thing we've had all season, despite that, is we've always looked to threat on the counter. We just haven't been clinical enough. And last night, we just clicked. We just clicked going forward. So we allowed Brighton to have the ball. We allowed them to pass around. We stayed solid at the back, which is the way Cooper's set up most of the season. But we were able to counter we were able to counter sort of effectively last night, and we looked a real threat every time we went forward, and every time Gibbs White got on the ball, it looked like something was going to happen. There was just a real energy in the City ground last night. Obviously I wasn't there, I was watching it on TV, but I could feel it through the TV. I was walking around our lounge, pacing up and down our lounge. Emma was looking at me like in almost disgrace at how I was pacing up and down, and I sort of said to her, "You'll never understand this feeling. You're never going to understand what this means, because I guess maybe you're the same. I'm really mild mannered in life and just day to day. I'm really quite a chill bloke, but when the football's on, I turn into a different monster and
different beast. Yeah.
And I think Emma looks at me and just thinks, what the fuck are you doing? And I don't know. It was just a really intoxicating night of football to watch. Yeah, absolutely buzzed.
How good did it feel when that when that third goal went in, the penalty?
Yeah, it was crazy. It was such a relief. Just because when confidence is really low and when you're on this really sort of bad run, there's no momentum. Even if you're 2 goals up, you don't feel secure. You just don't feel secure because even when we were 3-1 up, right, with 2 minutes to go, they were attacking us, and you still don't feel secure. You don't feel secure. They scored in like the 101st minute. It was disallowed, but even then, in the 101st minute, they nearly got it back to 3-2. And when you're on a bad run, you're sort of thinking, oh, they're just going to bash it in two. We're gonna drop this. But we held it out, and it was yeah, just so nice to see us win. So nice. I honestly, I slept really well. I'm almost ashamed to say it, but yeah, I slept really well. I didn't realise it was affecting me.
What was all the because I was checking the score every now and again, and I saw the stoppage time. What was all that about? Was there a big injury?
Yeah, it was. Nico Williams. He went down injured. It looked really nasty, actually. It looked like he'd done something to his neck. So he was down injured for like 10 minutes. And obviously there was quite a lot of VAR. There were penalties. There was quite a few stoppages. So there was 10 minutes added on time, and then in the 10 minutes added on time, like there were further stoppages. So I think the game went on for like 113 minutes or something stupid like that.
So when you got that first goal, as you say, it wasn't secure because there was still about 12 minutes to go.
In any other circumstance, that's what I was trying to say. In any other circumstance, when you go two goals clear with like 5 minutes left, you think that the game's done and dusted. But when you haven't won for 12 games, you just don't feel secure until that final whistle goes. You just don't feel secure. Like you must know that as an Arsenal fan this season as well. Like the amount of games you've scraped home, by one goal. Like until that final whistle goes, you don't breathe.
Exactly. Yeah. We've had that. We've had the same with the two giving away the 2 goals over the last few weeks. I guess Southampton had that against us as well. They were 3-1 up with 2 minutes to go. They ended up giving it away as well. That would have been huge for them.
Exactly.
But yeah. So I mean, it seems like obviously missed the penalty as well. But then I guess that just sort of looking at kind of what happened in the game, it seems like the own goal was quite crucial just before half time, getting that equaliser, going in 1-0 down after missing a penalty. That would have been probably quite difficult to take yesterday.
Yeah, things like that haven't gone for us all season. And Steve Cooper said after the game that after we missed that penalty and Brighton went 1-0 ahead, he was sort of thinking that he was sort of talking to the universe and saying, for Christ's sake, give us something, give the fans something to shout about. It's about time we something went our way. And yeah, it took that deflected goal to give us a boost going into half time. But more than anything, last night, what I loved seeing was players like Renan Lodi, Felipe, Danilo, these players that have come in from Europe into a little East Midlands club like Forest, and to show the passion they showed last night. Renan Lodi, he spent the last 7 seasons playing for Atletico Madrid under Diego Simeone, right? He's come over to Forest. He was kissing the badge last night. The passion I saw from the players, that was what most impressed me, because I think what our biggest challenge this season's been is we've brought in so many players, aside from making them gel tactically on a football pitch. It's been a challenge more than anything, gelling them sort of as personalities and gelling them emotionally together, because that's just as important as what you're doing on the football pitch. It's how you knit as a team. And what I saw last night, which I think is what Steve Cooper's done so well, is he's obviously kept this brand new set of players so close together, and as a unit. And when you look at teams like Chelsea, who have had a similar season in the sense that they brought in so many different players, what they failed to do, evidently from an outside perspective, is they failed to keep this sort of unity. It all looks so disparate and disbanded, and they just when you watch Chelsea, they don't look like a core unit. At the very least, with Forest, we still look like we're playing as a team, and we're in it together, and we're playing for the badge. That was really nice to see. And Serge Aurier as well, he's had an immense season. When we signed him, I was so worried. Such a liability. There's always 1 or 2 mistakes in a match for Serge Aurier. He's been phenomenal.
Wow.
Phenomenal all season.
Yeah. that was such a weird. It seemed like such a weird signing, didn't it? Because as you say, like I remember him being at Spurs, and as you say, there was always a mistake. Like, he would look on his day, he would look amazing, especially going forward, right?
Yeah.
But on his but defensively, yeah, he always had a mistake in him, and yeah, I think Spurs fans were sort of quite relieved to see him go. He almost was a bit similar to remember we used to have Emmanuel Abue. I think they're sort of a little bit similar, kind of amazing going forward, but just like really bad defensively, and like always had a mistake in them. And he used to remind me of Abue. But yeah, I've heard since he's been with you guys, he's been amazing. So that's, I mean, all credit to like Steve Cooper, I guess, as you say, that he's been able to kind of mould a player like that into this team.
Yeah, and again with Aurier and not just Aurier, like a lot of the team, it's not necessarily just the footballing side of things. It's what passion they're showing on the pitch. And you're watching Serge Aurier in a game, and I was watching him last night. You know, just shouting at his players. You know, shouting at the fans, organising the players in front of him. He's looked phenomenal, and that, more than anything, I think is what the Forest fans respond to. Is just passion for the badge. If we lose, we go out fighting. We've really missed Ryan Yates. He's like a homegrown player for us in the centre mid, and he's never been the most gifted. But what he brings every game is just this fight and this grit to our midfield, because he loves Forest. He's a Forest lad through and through. So we've kind of missed that. And what I saw last night was that energy in all of our players. That is what's made me happier than anything else, you know. Just to see that we look united. It could have been so different given the amount of players we brought in. So yeah, really positive result, and I'm buzzed. Although it's not done yet at all. We're just out of the relegation zone, but it's still
so close, isn't it? And I guess what must make it even more like juicy for you guys is the potential for it to come down to like, well, I guess there are other teams in it as well. Everton are still in it, Leeds are still in it, but you know, there's a big chance that it's sort of, you know, could come down to like a dogfight between like you guys and Leicester. That would be like, that's unreal for you, isn't it, for that rivalry?
Yeah, it will go down to the line. I'm sure it will. But again, if we had been chatting November last season when we were in the Championship, sort of, you know, milling around the bottom of the Championship, and you were to have told me that by April 2023 we would be in with a chance of staying up in the Premier League,
yeah,
biting your hand off. So it's really important for me as a fan to just enjoy this as well.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be nerve-wracking. It's going to go down to the wire. I believe it will.
Yeah.
But yeah, just enjoy it, because it's we haven't been in the Premier League for so long.
Yeah.
So whatever happens, it's just a buzz. It's a buzz to be. It's a buzz to be in the mix. It's a buzz to get 3 points back on the board, and yeah, you know, I don't really know what to add to that, really.
Yeah. No, it's been really nicely summed up, I think, Pete. And yeah, as you say, like it's probably almost kind of you're still sort of pinching yourself, I guess, aren't you? That you've got a chance of staying up. I mean, I think I just checked, you're on 30 points after sort of 33 games. So that's really not bad at all. That's almost like almost 1 point a game. I mean, if you were to get to sort of like 37, 38 points, that's, you know, you're more than in for a chance of staying up, I think. Potentially probably would stay up maybe with that number of points. You're playing well at home. Your home record, as you say, has been pretty good all season. They're playing as a team. They're showing passion. They're playing for the manager as well, clearly still. I think it seems like you've got all the ingredients of a team that, you know, absolutely has a good chance of staying up. Of course, it's not done. The table's so close. Things change so quickly, but yeah, you've got some hope, which is all we need as football fans, to have some hope going into the last few games.
Yeah, there's hope, and this is what being a football fan is all about. It's theatre. It's a distraction from some of the mundanities of life, and it's been one of those seasons at the top and at the bottom. Um, so yeah, I'm just going to sit back and enjoy it. It's going to be stressful for both of us, I guess. But yeah, like I said, that's what it's all about. That's why we love it. That's why we love it. And
Absolutely. You've just gone off, Pete. I can't see you anymore, but yeah, the screen's gone off.
can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah. But
Well, that'll do.
Yeah. Well, I guess we're coming towards the end, right? Anyway, it's almost 15:15.
Yeah.
But I don't know why you've just gone off. That's really strange.
Yeah, my screen's freezed as well this end.
Has it froze? Okay.
But yeah, it's probably a good time to leave it. And yeah, sorry about last night, man. Commiserations.
Yeah.
Anyone can lose to City at the Etihad. Anyone.
No, definitely. Yeah. And well done on last night, mate. Really happy that you guys got the result. And yeah, I guess you caught me sort of the morning after, so you probably hard for me to sort of see any positives. But I'm sure even by the end of the day, I'll be feeling like better. It doesn't quite stay with me as much as it did when I was a kid. Yeah. Yeah. Cool. We should leave it there then, Pete. Yeah.
Yeah. Right, mate.
Perfect. All right, mate. Well, have a good sort of break, and I'll just stop the recording now as well.
Yeah, just stop it quickly. And
all right. Cheers, guys.